See you. Today we are going to look at the midpoint and the distance formula, a couple of different things that we want to be able to talk about. When do I use them? What are they? How do I use them? Questions like that. First off, we're going to look at just the midpoint. When will I use it? So maybe I'm looking at the distance between 2 points and I need to find the middle. Good time to figure out to use the midpoint formula, the distance formula. Maybe I have a point here and a point over here, and I need to know the distance between them. Distance formula and point. But when do I use it? Usually you'll see it if you can come up with a coordinate grid. You know, an X, Y axis, a nice little plane, a coordinate plane where we're going to talk about two different ways in which we can come up with this. One would be, what if you have a point and an endpoint? And you're trying to find the point in the middle. Is it here? Is it right there? How do I find what B is? That's going to be one case. Another case, do the obvious case, if you have a point DE, and I'm trying to find where is F, what coordinate, what point. You know, here we know this point D looks to be is at 1, -1. E is at some location out here, and where is F? Where is it? We do need to know how to label our plane and how to label a point on the plane. So here I'm going to say that this is going to be at 1, this is going to be at -1, we're going to say this is at 2, and this is -2. So a point on this plane here. Let's call this point A. This point would be at 1, 2, 3. So X is first, 3, then up 2 to 4, 3, 4. We could also look at another point, let's say -2, say B here at -2, 6. And then I could ask, where is the middle? Where's the middle? My question to you is, how do I find the middle? Let's try to simplify it. Can you find the middle of if C is at -3 and D is at 2? We're going to start. So, and here we are. How did you find the middle? Most people were able to look at this and say, okay, here's one. Okay, here's one from over here, one from over here, one from over here. Oh wait, no, one from over here, and then you met in the middle at -0.5. But how could I do that for every number ever? Because what if that wasn't -3? What if that was -3.21? And this was like 2.124. Like, how could I go about doing that? We'll once again start with something simple and kind of be able to expand from there. And so this is what I would do. How do I find the middle? what did you do? We'll take this number, this number right here, I'll call it, well, it's on the x-axis, so I guess I'll call it x1. And this is another number on the x-axis, and I'll call it x2. Because the numbers don't really matter. So just arbitrarily numbers, some spot out there. Now so how am I going to find this middle? I'm going to have these two numbers, x1 and x2, just arbitrarily out here. And I'm going to say the middle is whatever x2 plus x1 is, and divide that by 2. And that's going to be my middle. That's going to be the middle along the x-axis. I'll call it m sub x. Why not? Yeah, the middle on the x-axis. So now I have, just plug and chug. We have x2 is 2. So my middle along the x-axis is 2. Because that's x2 is at 2. Plus the x1, which is at -3. I'm going to divide that by 2. 2 plus -3 is -1. -1 divided by 2. Oh, so that's just equal to -0.5. Or, sorry, what I meant to say was -0.5. That's my middle, right here. I call it m of x. That's where the middle came from. And that's what you did, that's what you were able to come up with. That's a win in my book. But what if I wanted to find a middle, not just a line that's like, going on the x-axis, or not just a line going on the y-axis? It's going to be the same thing. Isn't it? Let's try it out. What if my line isn't going left to right or horizontal, isn't on the x-axis, but what if it's on the y-axis? So what if my line, all lines are straight, is here, and the y-axis? What if it's here? And what if my points are, I don't know, how about 5 and -2? So where's the middle of this line? Where's the middle of this line segment? It is going to be the same process. I'm going to look at this and say, well, this is y1, and this is y2, and I could name them however I please, y1 and y2, and I'm going to do the same thing. What did I do here? What did I do here? I said x2 plus x1. So here, I'm going to say y2, so my middle in the y-axis is going to be equal to y2 plus y1 all over 2. So I can say y2 is -2 plus 5 over 2 is equal to the middle in the y-axis. -2 plus 5 is 3 over 2. I can put this into my calculator or simplify this down to the middle in the y direction is 1.5. So pretty simple right there. But a lot of times we're not looking at just x or just y. Sometimes we're looking at an x and a y. X and a y. So maybe here my line's going forever. And let's say these all go by ones. And let's say that I have a point right, I don't know, how about here? Now, this is where things don't really matter. Here is a point at -2, I'm going to call this point A is at 1, 2, negative 2, comma, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. And another point right, I don't know, here. At point B, we'll say that is at here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, comma, negative 1, 2, 3. Now, it may not line up perfectly because I drew it, but let's see what happens here. I do have a line because any 2 points, or even a line segment, do have a line segment. And I'm asking, can I find the middle of this line segment? What we do know so far is this. We know how to find the middle in the x-axis. We can find the middle in the y-axis. Actually, if we do that here, we should be able to find the middle of this line segment. So we're going to find the middle of the x, find the middle of the y. To do that, what all we have to do, we do need to say, well, which one's x1, which one's y1, which one's x2, which one's y2. That's, once again, up to you. You get to make that decision. So here, my decision, I like to read left to right. We know our coordinates are x, y, so I'm going to say this is x1, this is y1. I'm going to say this right here is x2, and this is y2. That's going to bring us back to that. What is the middle? The middle must be a coordinate. The midpoint here is a coordinate. It is a point on the graph. So it's going to have an x piece and a y piece. So to find the middle of the x, it was x2 plus x1 over 2. The y piece, comma, because coordinates are x, comma, y, y2 plus y1 over 2. And I did say there are coordinates, so make sure that you have this. This is in parentheses because they are a coordinate pair. Just like how we wrote this as in parentheses negative 2 comma 5. So now all I have to do here is substitute. What is x2? x2 is 8. 8 plus x1 negative 2 comma y2 negative 3 y1. From there, all you have to do is simplify. 8 plus negative 2 is 6 over 2, comma, negative 3 plus 5. Negative 3 plus 5 is 2 over 2. So the midpoint is 6 over 2, which is 3, comma, 2 over 2, which is 1. The midpoint is at 3, comma, 1. With that, I should be able to go back up. Say 1, 2, 3, and up 1. Now it's not drawn to perfectly great scale, but there should be my midpoint right here. And you are done. That's how you find the midpoint. formally, so that's what you're looking at. It's literally taking the average of the two. Kind of extra here, but literally this is saying exactly what we just did. The average of the x direction, the average of the y direction, put them together and you have the middle. So don't forget, big piece here is when you have the midpoint, you are looking for a point on a graph or a place. So you need to have coordinates, an x coordinate and a y coordinate. So there's two numbers involved with a midpoint. It comes up with this example right here. It tells me the endpoints are, the endpoints of RS. Endpoints of RS are, R is at 1, -3, S is at 4, 2. Find the coordinates of the midpoint M. With that, there's a couple different ways that I could do this. Could graph it and have a nice little visual. And I'll go ahead and try that out on the side, just so we can see what it looks like just a little bit. At 1, -3. And 4. Maybe something that looks like this. Something like this. And this is a very quick sketch, just so I can get a personal idea. Things I do know, that RS is here. So R is X, Y. So I'm going to call that X1, Y1. And S is going to be X2, Y2. And now I'm just going to find the midpoint using our formula. The midpoint is the average of the two. So here, the midpoint, X, and they did X1, I like X2 plus X1 over 2, comma, Y2 plus Y1 over 2. And once again, we must find two different numbers to be able to do this. So then, just plug and chug. X2 is 4 plus X1 is 1 over 2, comma. Y2 is 2 plus -3 over 2. 4 plus 1 is 5 over 2. And 2 plus -3 is 1 over 2. And once I was able to reduce this, 5 divided by 2 is 2.5, comma, 0.5. You like to write like that? If I think about where that is on my piece here, it's 2.5, right there. That's how you find the midpoint. So that's if you are looking for the point in the middle. But what happens if you know where you began, you know the middle, how do you get to the end? You know the beginning, you know the middle, how do you get to the end? Where is that point? That point is going to be important too. That brings us to the next example here. The midpoint of JK is M is at 2, 1, or one endpoint is at J, 1, 4. Find the coordinates of K. Find the coordinates of K. This one, for my own personal sake, I do want to write this down to see what it looks like. So I think to myself, what does this look like? Well, okay, let's find out. I don't know. The midpoint of JK is M, 2, 1. The one endpoint is at J, 1, comma 4. Find the coordinates of the other endpoint k. So that means I'm trying to find the other piece that's down here. We want to think, okay, so j, it's going to go j to m down to k somewhere over here. And to do this problem, we're going to be able to use the midpoint formula. And I think of the midpoint formula as m is equal to the quantity of x2 plus x1 all over 2, comma, y2 plus y1 all over 2. From there, I then think, okay, the midpoint is actually a point on this line. It consists of two different pieces. And so we want to look at I like to look at it as x of the middle, comma, y in the middle. So it's already told us what's going on here. Now I'm going to go ahead and say that this m in the middle, that's going to be x of the middle, the 2, x in the middle, and this is the 1 is going to be y in the middle. One endpoint is at j, x1, y1, x1, y1, and then the other endpoint is at k, some other place, x2, comma, y2. So now that we have our formula in this form, it looks like this, we can kind of just worry about the x's and just worry about the y's and do it in two different pieces. That's why there's a comma there. We're going to find this number and find the y value number. So I'm just going to deal in just the x's first. So x of m is equal to x2 plus x1 over 2. X of m, x in the middle is 2, is equal to x sub 2. Now I don't know what that is. That's the k value, and I'll leave it there as x sub 2 plus x sub 1, which is 1 over 2. So the whole thing's over 2. From there, I need to solve for this x sub 2, multiply both sides of my equation by 2. 2 divided by 2 here is 1. 2 times 2 is 4, leaving me with x sub 2 plus 1. Subtract 1, subtract 1. And then 3 is equal to x sub 2. So the x value in the k is 3. Now we know one piece of the answer. For the second part, we know that y sub m is equal to y2 plus y1 all over 2. Y in the middle, do you know that to be 1? That's equal to y sub 2, which we don't know, that's the k value, plus y1, which is 4, all over 2. Same thing over here, we're going to multiply both sides by 2. The 2's then cancel out. 2 times 1 is 2, is equal to y2 plus 4. Solve for y2. Subtract 4 on both sides of my equation. That gives me y sub 2 is equal to 2 minus negative 4, negative 2. So the y value in k is negative 2. Now we have our coordinates. Our coordinate of k is at 3, comma, negative 2. And if we look over here, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, it should be right about here. And that's where our line should go through. And that is all. And that's how you find the endpoint, given the midpoint and another endpoint.